The monitor screaming was the first thing I remembered, and the blinding burn in my chest when paddles shocked me back. My body jerked, then froze. It was a dream, I told myself, but the cheap fluorescent lights overhead lied otherwise. My mouth was parched as paper, my vision going fuzzy until a man leaned over me. Marcus was on his name tag, his worried, kind eyes speaking the truth before his voice. "Rest now, Mrs. Davis. You're safe." The word rang in my mind, unthinkable. My chest was torn open. My brain clung to something tangible. Melissa, my daughter. Jason, my son. Where are they? I croaked with parched lips. Marcus hesitated, shook his head gently. Don't try so hard. That evening, after the shift had changed and the ward had calmed, I heard him by my bed, not for my hearing. Yes, ma'am, she stabilized. No, she's conscious now. Would you like to talk to her? Silence. Okay, got it. Just thought you'd want to know. The words stuck around like poison. Would you like to talk to her? My daughter on the phone had said no. I lie there, blinking at the ceiling, heart beating harder than it did when the stroke struck. My kids were aware that I was alive and remained silent. The next morning, a nurse cleaned my bedside table, and I spotted it. A creased piece of lined paper beside my water cup. I shook as I opened it. Gone for 10 days. Hope you're better when we get back. M&J. No flowers, no phone numbers, no promise to come back. Merely a note you'd leave on a fridge before a trip to the beach. Tears didn't materialize. Numbness descended, heavier than any morphine drip. The people I'd escorted through their childhood tempests had set off down a sunlit runway while I held on by my fingernails. The ICU thrummed with machines, but to me it was silence, louder than any betrayal I could have conceived. If I lived, everything would be different. 9 days after that, they rolled me out of the ICU with a discharge packet and a paper bag of meds. No Melissa, no Jason. Only a hospital volunteer to sign me out, smiling politely, to ask if I needed assistance into the transport van. The drive back to San Antonio was subdued, the driver messing with the radio and me gazing out the window, preparing to feel at home. But when the van pulled up in front of my house, my stomach tightened. The curtains were altered. The porch chairs were missing. I felt for the ceramic frog planter at the bottom of the steps, where I had a spare key. Vacant. It took 15 minutes of banging and jiggling before the door swung open. Not Melissa, not Jason. Ryan, my daughter's husband, cradling a Starbucks cup as if he'd been caught breaking and entering. "Oh, Mrs. Davis," he stuttered, eyes scanning past me. "You got our home earlier than we expected." Passed by, every step weighing more. The living room was no longer mine. Furniture rearranged, walls half-painted a shade I'd never select. My wedding pictures, once formally presented, jammed in a cardboard box. On the dinner table, a glossy brochure. Charming southern house, perfect for young families. My house, my home of 27 years, on the market. I sank into a chair, legs giving way. On the counter, an open manila folder. Legal papers, power of attorney, my 3-year-old signature, post-hip surgery. Melissa had described it as insurance paperwork. Innocuous, as I floated on anesthesia. Now it was a weapon. I took Jason's ancient iPad from the pantry ledge. By miracle it functioned. The screen came alive. His text spilling forth, careless and cold. Melissa, once mom's house sells, will finally have breathing room. Jason, yeah, assisted living is lined up. No more boundaries. About time. Breathing room. From me. The woman who worked double shifts after their father died so they could finish school, who loaned them money when Ryan's business collapsed. My chest ached, not from the stroke, but from the realization. This wasn't a mistake or bad timing. They were erasing me. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table in the faint light of one bulb, reading the flyer like obituary. My home, my life, boiled down to advertising blurb. Quaint southern residence, perfect for families with young children. A sentence that completely effaced me. Before dawn I made up my mind. No shouting, no pleading, I'd battle. I thought of Danielle Ruiz, a meek English major who adored poetry, now an attorney at a small practice in San Antonio. Phoned her office. "Daniel, this is Eleanor Davis. Do you recall me?" Silence, then affection. "Mrs. Davis, yes. You taught me to write. What's wrong?" I explained it all, voice trembling. Power of attorney, sale brochure, notes I shouldn't have read. She listened, no questions, no skepticism. "You're not the first," she said. "But we can prevent this. Meet me today." Her own office was unpretentious, upstairs over a taqueria, but when she leafed through my papers, her serene smile grew pointed. "They crossed the line," she told me. "This PO doesn't allow real estate sales. They can't sell your house in good faith." Relief struck so quickly it left me reeling, the ground solid under me once more. Daniel petitioned that afternoon to revoke the power of attorney and return my full decision-making authority. Daniel vowed to put it on fast track. "If we leave tonight, you can turn this around before they even know what happened." Later that night, I walked my home's vacant halls for the last time. The indentation in the carpet where the couch once was, the slight imprint of a Christmas tree stand pushed into the floorboards, shadows of a life that no longer belonged to me. I retrieved a shoebox from the pantry, emergency funds, and a frayed notebook of 90s passwords from the 90s. They believed I'd be helpless. They forgot the ones who raised them. As dusk fell, I replaced the door locks. Ryan arrived an hour later, jiggling the knob. I told him through the Ring camera, "Take your tools and go before I donate them." He grunted, picked them up, turned to go, shoulders slumped. In that quiet, I knew I wasn't their mother anymore. I was their target. Daniel worked quickly. Within 3 days, the court rescinded the power of attorney, restoring my full control. But staying meant waiting for their next move. No, I'd leave first on my terms, unseen. I relist the house under my name, cash buyers only. A young couple appeared instantly, no contingencies. 11 days later, the sale closed. I sat alone in the vacant living room on a folding chair, munching on a peanut butter sandwich on a paper plate, muttering to the walls, "This is the last time." The morning after, I visited the bank, closed all joint accounts they had handled, depleted their balances, and opened new ones in the name of Nora Williams, a reference to my grandmother's maiden name. Signing the papers was like slipping on an unfamiliar but well-fitted coat. I packed what was important: my husband's watch, a collection of photos, a box of Melissa and Jason's childhood artwork from the time when they still cared about me. The rest, dishes, furniture, curtains, was trash, remnants of a pilfered life. I wrote 2 letters, one for each child, no blame, no begging, just 10 words. "Thank you for showing me who you actually are." I put them on the counter along with the realtor's card. I filled my rusty Corolla's trunk at dawn. A peeling paint silver car doesn't attract a glance. Precisely the intention. I headed north, no GPS, no agenda, the highway a spreading vein before me. At nightfall, I entered Arkansas, stopping in a town too small for a map pin. The sign said, "Welcome to Fair Haven, where you can rest a while." I took that as invitation. I paid cash for a trailer behind a hardware store. The landlord, Jim, wiry and to the point, fired 2 questions. "Do you smoke? Cash or check?" "No, and cash," I replied. That was sufficient. That evening, on a thin mattress, boxes piled like barricades, I heard crickets and waited for terror. Instead, relief arrived. The first time since my heart had stopped beating, I inhaled without speculating who was going to bury me. In Fair Haven, I was Nora Williams, widowed, childless, retired librarian from Roanoke, Virginia, seeking peace. A straightforward tale, simple to recall. In a town of 6,000, no eyebrows were raised. Here people figure you're hiding something when you show up by yourself, but they valued quiet. I worked at the library 2 times a week, shelving books, mending bindings. Paper and dust scents reminded me more of home than my house ever did. Staff smiled as I arrived. Children drifted over because I'd learned their names. That's how I got to know Claire, a tired-eyed single mom who worked nights at the diner across from the library. Her 8-year-old son, Ethan, followed her home from school, hanging on to dog-eared comics. When he referred to me as Grandma Nora, my throat constricted, but I didn't tell him otherwise. Days acquired a routine. Library mornings, homework afternoons with Ethan, coffee evenings with Claire after she finished her shift. I slept with a notebook beside my pillow, committing my new identity's details to memory so as not to forget the falsehoods. No kids, no San Antonio, no Melissa, no Jason, just Nora. To work. My lungs expanded. My chest wasn't a cracked shell anymore. Ethan's laughter, needing nothing from me but attention, sewed me up. Then, on one July evening, everything changed. Ethan's 9th birthday. Claire rented the VFW hall's back room, hung paper streamers, placed mismatched cupcakes. I sat next to him as he opened presents, clapping as he ripped wrapping, smiling when he hugged me. Somebody handed me a party hat. I wore it without thinking. A blonde mom recorded it. 30 seconds of Ethan unwrapping a toy car as I assisted in reading the card. She posted it to Instagram, a happy montage of a child's birthday. 3 days after that, Claire rushed into the library, phone clutched in her hand, face white. "Nora, you have to see this." The video, reposted on a parenting blog, then TikTok, superimposed my face over vintage San Antonio newspaper clippings. Caption: discovered her. Grandma Ghost is living in Fairhaven. Renamed herself. Building a new family. My gut plummeted. My peaceful life split open. By morning the video had reached 1 million. Comments overflowed. Some called me legendary, others vicious. She left her family. No, they left her first. My face covered forums, podcasts, TikTok duets. I sat in my trailer with notebook open, reworking my cover story as if it were capable of containing. Nora Williams, retired librarian, widowed, no children. The lies felt paper-thin. Claire attempted to reassure me. People online forget in a week. It'll blow over. I knew better. If the world noticed me, then Melissa did too. 2 days passed, and a silver Toyota with Texas plates drove by the library lot. Once, twice, pulling in too attentively, like a shark patrolling shallow water. My chest constricted. Melissa emerged. Jeans, cardigan, paper coffee cup. Older, shorter, shame to dull her former sparkle. She swept the sidewalk from the entrance out as far as she could see until her eyes landed on me. I stood there behind the stacks, holding still behind the glass door. 5 minutes went by before I opened the door, shaking hands, shoulders squared. She gazed, lips opening, as if double-checking I existed. Her voice cracked on one word. "Mom." An old habit flared, to comfort, to reassure, but it was gone in an instant. "Don't go away," she breathed. I looked at her. "I already had my funeral. You just weren't there," I told her. Those words stung Melissa more than a slap. She winced, clutching her coffee cup like a lifeline. "We didn't know," she told me. "We thought you were okay." I laughed. Bitter, cruel. "You left me alone in a hospital bed. You tried to sell my house while I was breathing. Don't tell me you didn't know." Tears streamed down her face, silent, raw. She was a stranger in my daughter's flesh. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid to see you get weak. You made decisions," I said. "And now I'm making mine." She advanced on me, hand half skeptically raised. I did not budge. "I'm not returning, Melissa. I discovered a life where I didn't have to pretend we were ever fine." Her lips parted, closed. The hush between us weighed more than our years lost. I turned and stepped away. Not quickly, not theatrically, just far enough for closure. 3 weeks passed before Jason contacted me. Not a ring or knock, but a letter inserted through the library's return slot. The envelope was addressed to me, Nora, in his handwriting. Within a single page. My own writings from the ICU, penned when I believed I would perish. "If I don't wake up, forgive me. If I do, come. I'm frightened." On the margins, Jason's jagged, anguished handwriting. We didn't realize how bad it was. I figured Melissa would pass on. Figured you'd know. For 2 evenings, the letter sat on my kitchen counter, as if gazing could drive out the pain. Against my better sense, I answered his email. One trip. No photographs, no apologies. Bring the letter. We met at the cemetery where Frank's headstone stood, where reality weighed heavier amidst empty graves. I sat down on a bench. Jason came up, holding a tote bag like a shield, briefly looking like the fidgety first grader he once was. But close up, he was the man who had betrayed me. He dropped the envelope into my hand, unspeaking. I ran over his unsteady marginalia once more. His voice shattered the silence raw. I didn't know how to watch you get weak. I thought moving fast would be easier. My throat constricted. I didn't need you to be strong, Jason. I needed you to arrive. His face collapsed, tears spilling in sheets. You believe I don't despise myself? You believe I sleep. I think you slept more soundly than I did, I told him, wondering why my children were unable to take my hand as I gasped for air. Silence bore down, heavier than the gravestones. Can I return? He asked, voice breaking. Can we start again? I shook my head. That piece of me, Jason, you already buried. This time, I decided on the funeral. He reached for a hug. I took a step back. Not cruel, merely definitive. I left, his wails ringing out in the cemetery, no longer mine to bear. The next morning in my trailer, I sat with blank-page notebook paper, the same notebook in which I'd written down passwords and my new name. At the top I inscribed, "You did it." I hesitated, then went on, "You got out." I listed what I'd left. A house no longer home, a name turned burden, children who saw me as furniture to clear away. Then what I'd gained. Quiet mornings, honest conversations, a child's laughter. Ethan's, loving me without conditions, a friend, Claire, who saw me as more than a bank or burden. I creased the paper, pushed it into a shoebox under the bed, next to Ethan's pictures and one of Melissa and Jason taken when they thought I could accomplish anything. I shut the box, not in rage but acceptance. That afternoon, Claire invited me to assist Ethan in cutting her porch hedges. The sun on my shoulders, the clippers firm in my hands. Ethan came running with a cracked creek-found seashell, his face alight. "Grandma Nora, see what I found." I smiled readily. "Perfect. Let's construct something with it." We piled shells in the ground, giggling when they fell, beginning again. For the first time in years, I was complete without the need for healing. That night, Claire's porch, I sat watching Ethan run after fireflies. Claire leaned against the railing, questioning softly. "Do you regret leaving?" I remembered the hospital monitor flatlining, the bedside note, the real estate flyer modifying my home. "No," I said. "I regret staying so long." She nodded and we let silence stretch. Comfortable, true. Online, strangers argued about me, villain or hero. But in Fairhaven I wasn't a headline. Not Eleanor Davis, abandoned mother. Not a scandal or ghost. I was Nora, and that was enough. The lesson was a simple one. Family isn't blood. It's the people who arrive when you're vulnerable, the hand that stabilizes, the voice that responds. Sometimes it's the family you build, not the one into which you happen to be born.